Hey, what's up? This is SG Lewis. I just did an interview on the Zach Sang Show. We talked all kinds of shit. Talked about new music, talked about pop music, and go check it out and listen right now.
Hello, beautiful human. My name is Zach. That is Annalie. Welcome to the studio for the first time ever. SG Lewis.
Yo. Yeah. It's good to finally be in person, in real life.
I've run into you socially a couple times. You've been on the show via Zoom now twice.
Yes, we're internet friends.
Yes, we are internet friends. And you do have great fashion.
Oh, stop it.
No,
I'm blushing.
Every time you wear a sweater, I always reach out and I let you know that's a good sweater.
We do have sweater conversations on Instagram DMs.
Yeah,
so
mostly exclusively about sweaters.
it's only sweaters. It's not actually any music chat. It's just sweaters. So
No, I don't really use...
You have a good sweater on, a good kind of sleeveless cardigan.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I have a decent collection of sweaters that... I want to expand, but people in my life will murder me if I expand the collection.
I'm pretty excited. Like, I know that I've been in LA long enough because I get excited when it gets cold now. You know, when you're not from here and you get here and it's scorching hot, you're like, yeah. And then once you're here long enough, you just get like miserable about it being hot. So now it's sweater season. I'm ready.
You find joy in the gray.
Exactly.
And it does exist when you live in LA.
Yes.
We have a lot to discuss, obviously. There's a new album coming in January.
Yes.
But also, like, dude, what is your day-to-day like? You were just saying you came from... When did you land from Miami?
Yeah, so I went to Miami for one night. I took the red eye from LA to go play a festival. So I did Thanksgiving in San Diego, so that was very wholesome.
That's nice.
My girlfriend's family. Then took the red eye to Miami, played this festival... Then stupidly went to Space Miami, which, if anyone's been, it's a timeless place. It's as in like
you don't know time.
Yes, timeless in that sense. I was like, time is sort of not really a construct that exists in Space Miami. It's I played there once, and I played till 6 a.m. I was DJing there, and I'd never been there. I didn't really know what it was about, so I assumed that I was the last DJ for the night. And then the next guy took over, and the crowd was still, the club was absolutely like packed by the time I left.
6 a.m.
Well, so then I left, went to bed, woke up late the next day, like midday after like a late set, went to get coffee, and people were still queuing to get into the club.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's completely insane.
So, when you get asked to play a club, do you vet the club before you go, or do you just go where the money is?
I tend to have an idea of like what's going to be fun, and also it's kind of about who's going to be playing on the lineup, who's been playing before. So it's like, you know, making sure that it's going to be like a cool party rather than like a money thing. Because sometimes the chasing the money thing is like you can end up just playing. When money is the focus of a party, then like it's usually the wrong vibe and message. You know, there'll be more focus on bottles of tequila and champagne than on music.
Do you find yourself DJing more parties and raves?
I've been playing live more recently with the band because doing the album, and a lot of the album is kind of more song focused. I guess in the middle of the pandemic, I was listening to a lot of 80s yacht rock and stuff, and there's a whole I went down. But so the live show is kind of like 6 of us on stage, kind of performing the music, kind of all live as a band sort of thing. So they're very different, and then the DJing stuff is more kind of like me just, I guess, sharing records that I like and playing some remixes I do and stuff. But,
so when you go to DJ a party, who comes with you? Is it just you? Is it you with one other person?
So I do have a habit of bringing a lot of friends, just because it's, I guess, it's a good time. So I always find that the more people that you have with you DJing in terms of friends and stuff, the more fun it becomes, and then the more fun the crowd have, because if they look at what's going on in the booth and there's like lots of people having a good time, then they kind of reflect that in the crowd easier. But it really varies. Sometimes it will just be me flying in and then just get it done. But then it's always more fun if there's more friends around.
I want to get into the live set. But did you want to be a DJ? Because you really produced a bunch of incredible records that we've talked about over the years. But did you, was the dream always to be you and 6 other musicians bringing to life a song that you made from nothing?
I ended up on stage completely accidentally, really, because I don't know, I was kind of shy as a kid, and I always just imagined myself in a kind of behind the boards sort of role. I was never someone that wanted to be like, I need to be on stage and perform. And then I started producing music, and then I started singing on some of that music, and then the kind of role was kind of forced. It's something that I've kind of grown into and now love doing. Like I love performing, I love playing with the band, but it was something that was a necessity because of the music I was making. I was like, well, you know, a lot of these songs aren't just songs, they're not club tracks, a lot of them, even if they're like electronic, some of them are you know, songs that need performing and live and singing. So it kind of just happened accidentally, but it's something that I'm proud of the way we kind of we create the music live with the band and stuff, because it's kind of like it's I guess it's like the truest to the recorded music, rather than it just feels more fulfilling sometimes. But then I do enjoy DJing because that's more like sharing taste with someone, right? It's like sitting in you know, it's like being in someone's living room and just playing records for each other.
So do you becoming an artist, is it only because you essentially have to, because you're crafting records that you don't think anybody else can do? Because the truth is, like, you were Dua, there's a bunch of people that you've crafted records for that you give away. Right.
So I mean, there's a sense of the music you're making. Sometimes you just know when a song is like for you and when a song is for someone else, and even productions and stuff. I think that you know, to start with, I really wasn't thinking on that level. I you know, where I grew up, and I didn't have any friends that were in music, and I didn't really understand songwriting and producing for other people as a concept until I became aware of like the Neptunes and Timbaland. And initially I was like, oh cool, like I get to be like, I want to do that, I want to be the guy in the studio sort of thing. And then I just started, I sort of came up in that kind of SoundCloud era of just like, you know, those YouTube blogs like Majestic Casual and The Sound You Need, and sort of I guess it did in a way happen accidentally. I definitely like didn't set out like I want to be a superstar DJ type. I was just kind of like, oh, here's music I'm making and putting it online. And then down the line I've had the amazing opportunity to write and produce for other people, and now that's something I really enjoy. And it's kind of I think it's funny, I'm really lucky that I get to do both, because if I spend too much time doing too much of one of those things, I kind of get sick of it and sick of myself. So by the time I finish an album, I'm like, oh god, I just want to like go and write some music for someone else, because I get to wear a different hat and kind of and put my, you know, my headspace into someone else's sort of thoughts rather than just being in a vacuum of my own thoughts.
Is that freeing?
Absolutely, because you know, I think you know, when you're working on your own stuff and when you're putting yourself out artistically, every decision, every micro decision is felt. You know, you have to really think through every intention. Everything has to be intentional, and sometimes it's just fun to kind of wear a different hat and wake up one day and be like, oh, what would it be like if I was producing a tune for Dua Lipa today, or whatever it is. So I really enjoy the exercise.
AudioLust and HigherLove, that's the name of the album, right?
Yes.
It comes in January. You've been dropping drips and pieces of it. Drips and drabs.
Drips and drabs.
But do you start that project knowing that it's going to be for you?
Yes.
All spawned off of Yacht Rock.
Well, it was definitely some of it. So I kind of went, basically in the pandemic, clubs were shut, and I've been DJing for, you know, best part of 10 years now. And all of a sudden, the context in which club music existed no longer existed, you know. And I put out my last album, but the last album, a lot of it was made before the pandemic fully hit. So all of a sudden I'm in a situation where I always intended to take time off after the first album. I was like, I'm going to travel the world, I'm going to do this stuff. And then I was stuck at my parents' house, and I was like, well, after like a week or two of not making music, I was like, well, I'm kind of bored now. So I guess I dived into a lot of old 80s music, yacht rock, and kind of just explored an area of music that I hadn't necessarily listened to before. I didn't grow up in a house where my dad was playing Hall & Oates and Bobby Caldwell. It was like the radio might be on and whatever was popular at the time might be on, but it wasn't like a home where there was a lot of music being played. So then I just started writing, and because
How'd you get there to begin with? How'd you find Hall & Oates? Like, I mean, you know them, obviously, because if you watch a fucking movie or whatever, their music is everywhere, but how do you be reintroduced to that?
I have a friend called Jim Pong, and he works for a Resident Advisor, or was at the time, and so basically I have a couple of friends I like that are big into their like records, and we would trade club records. So when clubs closed and none of us were in clubs and there was no for some reason we just had to find like a different style of music that we wanted to like talk about and trade, because it's kind of what we do as friends, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, so for some reason it started off semi-ironically being like, oh, Michael McDonald, this is cool, and then all irony was lost. It was completely serious, and I was like, wow, this music's incredible. So yeah, there was bits from there that I kind of you know, I wouldn't say there's anything on the album that's like strictly yacht rock, but there's just some chords and some patterns and stuff in there that definitely like if you know, you might be able to see it.
But as kitschy and corny as people like kind of brand that music today, fuck that. It's incredibly timeless, and those songs come on, you know every fucking word.
Yeah.
They live forever. They will be around way after both of us.
There's a full commitment to it that's like hugely admirable. Like there's some crazy like riffs that people sing, and just like chord patterns that like, I just love that it's like an era where people seem to be like devoid of cringe, whether they were just like drunk enough or high enough that like they just weren't registering like their own, but they were just like, there's no like, oh, that's not cool, I'm not gonna, they're just going for it, like belting as hard as they can. And I don't know, there's something about that I appreciate. But I was, because, you know, obviously I collaborate a lot, and so my kind of natural intuition in the studio is to collaborate, and all of a sudden I was in a situation where collaboration was a kind of more difficult thing to do because of
Zoom.
Yeah. So then I guess I just started writing more and singing more. So then that kind of birthed this album.
I mean, was singing a part of the plan?
Yeah, well, the last album, Chemicals, ended up being the biggest, or the record that kind of resonated the most of the last record.
It has you on it.
And I'm singing on it, and I guess that kind of...
Does that give you confidence?
Yeah, instilled some confidence in it, and it kind of made me want to explore it more. I was like, oh, well, okay, because there was, you know, there's some artists on the last album that I like look up to hugely. So for Chemicals to be the one that resonated, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe like I want to see how far this rabbit hole goes. But it's I definitely learned a lot about myself as like a singer and a writer, and I guess the main difference between the last record and this one is that the last record is kind of it's about everyone else. It's about looking at like an era and being like, okay, like, you know, 70s New York and birth of disco, inclusivity. It's a shared kind of message. And I guess this album, while there's still collaboration, there's a lot more kind of introspective writing in terms of just writing about something that I'm thinking about, as opposed to looking at external factors and getting inspired by that.
So it's more about you.
There's a lot more of me in this, definitely.
You look at all the collaborators you've had, even on the last album. Have you ever asked yourself why you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I've had.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, no. I sometimes look back at those things and some of those collaborations feel like things that if I didn't have the audio online to prove it, I'd feel like I was lying.
Totally.
Like, even, you know, things like the Nile Rodgers collab and the Robin collab, these are things that, you know, you get to share space with these artists, and it very quickly becomes normalized when you're in that environment, because they're, you know, they're human beings and they're nice human beings, so you spend that time with them, and then it's almost like once a year passes and you have time to reflect, that's only then you have an opportunity to kind of gain perspective on it again and be like, wait, like what? Like, why did they agree to do this? And why, you know, especially everyone has imposter syndrome, but you kind of go like, what? Like, how did I trick like Nile Rodgers into playing guitar on this record? Yeah.
Do you see that as something you have to top going into this next album? No,
I see it as a different space, and I definitely like this album is less collaboration heavy, just because of kind of the things we discussed. It's kind of like isolation and stuff, so it felt like a very different part of my kind of brain I wanted to explore, and a different approach to writing music. And it's an album I always wanted to make, I think, in terms of like just to test myself and see, like, you know, how much can I sing on records, because I'm always a producer first and foremost, and the singing kind of came second. So I'm really glad I made this record, because I now kind of know how far that rabbit hole goes for myself as like a singer, and where my voice can kind of take me, and what the limitations are of my own voice. But I see them as different kind of things completely, in terms of like the last album being, like I said, a very external kind of study of like a style of music that I became obsessed with, and this one being kind of more an exploration of what I'm able to do as like as a writer and singer. And then so I kind of, with every project, I kind of like to separate them, and rather than try and top the last one, or they kind of exist in different spaces, I think.
What is success to you with this album?
It's funny, and it's such a corny thing to say, but the success of the album is the fact that I've done it and it exists. Like, it's really like kind of, it's just like, there's like an unloading of thoughts that goes on when you're writing like that. And I kind of understand. I would always read interviews from singer-songwriter types being like, oh, this was like a cathartic song to write. And I was always kind of like, not that I didn't understand that, but I was kind of like, I couldn't resonate with it. And I think that now, having made an album that has a lot more of me, and I'm like, oh, I understand. It's kind of like therapy, but cheaper. You just kind of place thoughts in there, and then for some reason they're out of the system, and you're like, oh, now I don't have to meditate on that thought anymore.
Are you doing this whole album by yourself?
No, so I'm always still writing, collaborate. Some of the bits in the album are just me in a room by myself, but I have like a very tight kind of crew of collaborators now that like I've worked with a lot, that I kind of is kind of repeated collaboration that I know works now. So like my friend Orlando, whose artist project is Totally Enormous Sing Dinosaurs, worked with him a lot on it. I have a friend called Ed Druitt, who's a writer, an incredible songwriter that I worked with a lot on it. And it was a lot of intense time with it, like one person or two people for like a month. Like I would go to like residential studios in the countryside in the UK, and just we'd be like locked off from the rest of the world for like a month. And it's such a fun creative process. You also completely lose your mind, because like all the normal things of society disappear. Like you're not even socializing anymore. You're just waking up, feeding yourself, and then making music for like 14 hours.
Did you like that?
I loved it at the time. It was amazing. By the end of it, you have to like recalibrate as a human being. You're just like, I have no real life context or things to say or do, so you kind of have to go and live some
there's no life.
You have to go and live some life in order to restock the inspiration barrel or such. But it's a fun thing to do. It's like you when you're in that situation, you really kind of like go deep into your psyche as such.
Well, yeah, you're left alone with yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and I spent a lot of time by myself. In fact, it's quite funny. The engineers who would work at the studio, you know, just setting up or helping out and stuff, but they're there for like technical purposes. And I made friends with them, but I was working alone for like a week or so, and they basically, there was a lake at the studio, and I bought a fishing rod, and in between working I would go and fish and drink whiskey. And they would watch me from the window, and at first they were like, what is he doing? And like, so I would work for a couple of hours, and I'd go fishing for half an hour, and then eventually they got into it, and then they started joining me.
It's all that yacht rock you're listening to.
Yeah, big yacht rock energy. Yeah. Yeah, so it was a time and a place. COVID, I mean, like, we were all just so bored, I think.
True.
Yeah.
You described this album as being split into like two different worlds.
Yeah.
How would you describe the difference between AudioLust and HigherLove?
So yeah, it's really like to simplify it down, is it's an exploration of like lust versus love, and those two kind of versions of love and relationships, and how one of those things can be confused with the other. And I became interested in it because the front half of the album, AudioLust, representing this kind of like selfish, ego-driven, rushy, toxic version of love and relationships, and then the second representing this kind of more fulfilled, actualized, longer lasting version, because I kind of felt that I was writing, and that the songs, as I was just writing, they kind of fell into one of these two categories. This kind of like celebration of something long lasting and real, and then this kind of like writing about something that was more conflicted. And I very quickly found that when I was writing the lyrics, because I'm writing and producing at the same time, that they would automatically have like a sonic world that they existed in. So if I was writing about something that was like toxic, and then automatically the sonic world in which it lived in would be darker and rushier and more intense. And then on the other half, it would be this kind of like light, floaty, warm, and then that would just kind of happen instinctively. And then all of a sudden, I almost had these like two playlists, or these two worlds that existed. And I was like, and then once I kind of stepped back, I realized what was going on. And then the concept was kind of born.
From your reality?
Yeah, in a way, just in terms of like my own experiences and just the way that I had approached love and relationships before. I kind of just noticed patterns, and I guess that kind of once you start writing, even if you're not writing consciously, those things start to appear in front of you.
Do you get into a relationship after the album is
yes
made?
yeah I'm now in a very happy in a relationship, and it's funny, it's kind of like you know, the latter half of the album, it's very strange that my personal life is now like, once I finished the second half of the album sort of like after the first half, and then I sort of arrived at that in reality as well. So yeah, it's very strange.
What do you learn about yourself from making the album?
I learned a lot about myself as a musician and as a singer, as a writer, and kind of the way that I want to communicate. It's funny because I've always there's artists that are very happy to, there's artists that like will write a song, and when they're promoting a song, they'll tell their audience exactly what the song's about, and the fans will like, they will look into who the song's about and why and when it happened, and that's like and then there's artists that you will never know who let's say Skinny Love Bon Iver is about, right?
Yeah.
It's like and I think that I learned that I do find sharing kind of uncomfortable, or like in terms of like, I prefer to share things musically and for people to kind of like draw their own conclusions and their own emotions from, because the music essentially, as soon as I release it, it's no longer for me, it's for everyone else. And I just very quickly found with writing more from an internalized kind of perspective that I was like, oh wow, it's a strange thing to share those thoughts, and it's a uncomfortable kind of growing pain. But I also think it's healthy. I think it's cool because it pushes. I feel more. I feel like I'm giving a lot more of myself to the people that are listening when they listen to this record. And
then you're fostering a deeper new relationship with them.
Yes.
Like if you look at an S.G. Lewis fan today, right? You sold out the Greek.
Yeah.
Are those people coming because they know you from your DJ sets?
I asked myself this question, right? Because I've been playing live for quite some time, but there are fans that only know my live thing, and are like, there are even fans that are like borderline disappointed if they've like turned up to a DJ set and they aren't aware of what the difference is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then there's fans that have like found me through like the 3-hour DJ set at Coachella, the Do Lab one, who are like, wait, what? There's a band? Like, so, and then there's people that understand both. So there's kind of different versions, and I like the fact that there's different types of fans, and that obviously eventually I'd love for my ultimate goal is for people to understand the difference between those two things that I do, and so that no one ends up in a situation where they're disappointed, being like, what, there's a band that came here to like rave for 5 hours, or vice versa. Someone's like, it's a club and it's very loud, and I came to
listen to you in a band.
Listen to the slower songs like Warm or something. So there's definitely a duality there of sorts, but I like to think that they're different purposes for different contexts, and that if people kind of understand the difference and the range of it, then hopefully there's different opportunities to enjoy the music in.
Totally, but I also think people want to get to know you, right? And people feel understood by a shared reality, and like the
Yes.
more on the nose specific you are in songs, people actually connect to it deeper.
Yeah, it's funny, or it's just like honest. It's like an honest feeling. It doesn't even have to be like, oh, this one is about like this specific person, or it's like even just like being honest with a feeling and putting that like intention into a song, and then feeling that reflected, like rather than like, it's always funny the notion and perception, like the idea of selling out, right? And it's funny because like in music there's this thing that like when an artist wants to all of a sudden cross over, that they have their sellout moment, and they water down the music and they clean it up, and And it's funny because that's obviously not like it's very rarely like a genuine intention, right? To make decisions in the studio based on commercial success, to be like, well, okay, we need to do this. I've just found in my experience that any kind of watering down in the studio with an intention like that doesn't work, because like people's natural sense and intuition for feeling and emotional resonance for people that are listening is so finely tuned, even if people don't know it, that like people feel genuine intention in music. So like I've seen it happen a lot of times in you know, over the last like 8-10 years, however long I've been in the music industry, where as soon as you kind of try and calculate that intention, then like it doesn't work. And you know, and so I just try to continue to sort of like to follow that intuition.
But sharing who you are and yourself is different and new, and it is scary. But like, you know, you only actually find success when you're actually uncomfortable.
For sure. I mean, like I definitely and I'm like I said, I'm so lucky that I get to kind of go, okay, cool. Like I've done that. Right, I'm gonna go and I want to go and do a project where I just produce someone or something. So I get to kind of
you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's fun.
And you can always be specific and vague at the same time.
Yes.
Like that is, you know,
exactly.
By the way, we haven't really listened to the full album because it's not here yet upon our conversation. It's not coming until January 29th, 19th?
27th.
27th.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
It's so far away.
I know, yeah. It's funny. The Christmas break always creates like a sort of a space because everyone sort of like winds down. But
this is going to gear right back up.
Yeah.
And you've been dropping songs.
Yes, so I've been dropping music, going to be dropping more music, a couple more tracks before the album goes out, because 14 tracks on the album, maybe 15 with the intro. But can't remember if I split up the intro or not. But
how long has it been done?
Quite a while now.
When did you finish it?
When did I finish it? I did it in end of May, maybe.
And when did you start it?
About 2 weeks after I handed in the last one. I started it before the last one even went out, so by the time it goes out, we'll be approaching 2 years since the last one. But
holy shit.
Yeah, it was kind of it was quite went straight into it. And when I first started it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be done in like 8 weeks. And I think everyone that makes music has this. I was like, you write 3 good songs and you're like, this is easy. And then you kind of stand back and you're like, wait, what is this? Why is this? And then you spend the next year and a half just trying to get the other like 8 tracks or whatever. Have you been making music even while this has just been waiting to go out? Yeah, all the time. I'm pretty much constantly making music and kind of I'm starting a label as well, like a club label, because the album is kind of very song focused and like we said, and everything we've been discussing. So then I kind of get that yo-yo effect where when I kind of scratch the itch on that side, I'm like, right, okay, I want to go do this for a bit. So kind of elastic band theory. So then I was like, I wanted to go and make some like fun club records for a bit, and the opportunity came to sort of start like an imprint, like a label, and to be able to sign records. So sick. Yeah, so I'm gonna be doing that probably after the album. You'll start getting the first stuff, but that's all.
When you like, do you have the same type of set list that you pick from when you go into DJ a party? No.
I never have a clue what I'm going to play.
Really?
Yeah.
So you just go based on the energy that you're presented with?
So I used to like try and plan and stuff, and then A, it's really boring for me, and then B, I just play way better when I don't prepare. Because with the Coachella one, the 3-hour D-Lab set, I had some other sets that so I played for basically. The Do-Lab, for anyone that doesn't know, is like a stage at Coachella that like is like the party stage, and I wasn't playing main lineup, and they called me and they were like, do you want to do this DJ set? I was like, yeah, great. And the week before they're like, oh, the guy before you's pulled out, so do you want his set as well? And I was like, great. And so
I saw you this weekend.
Yeah, so I had 3 hours at the stage at Coachella, which I guess is like kind of unheard of at Coachella. It is unheard of. So, but then I was enjoying myself so much that weekend that I hadn't necessarily had time to prep. And I've been DJing a lot, but like I hadn't really thought about what I was going to play. And all of a sudden I was there, and there's like 10,000 people there, and I was like, oh wait, I haven't really thought about this. And then it went really, really well. So then after that, it's kind of shown me that it went better than really any set I'd ever played. So
Are there certain songs that you can play to get to elicit a reaction?
Absolutely, and like, the more you're playing, the more you understand what records are working, so then it kind of becomes, so if you're DJing a lot, then you get better at DJing because you're just like, okay, I know that this record is going to work here, and like, but I've kind of got into this thing of, I said to my agent a couple of months ago, I was like, whenever I'm DJing, I want to DJ for as long as possible, and he was like, what? Like, why? And I was like, I really like playing for like, I did 6 hours at Sound nightclub the other week.
Jesus Christ.
Because you get to really like, it's like hosting an evening, right?
Yeah.
And like, so with that, I basically, so we announced it on the day, and then it sold out pretty quickly. And then I basically put up online, I was like, hey, so I'm doing open to close. So the first person that walks in the room, I'll be playing music. Then the last person that leaves, I'll be playing music, sort of thing. So I bought a stack of pizzas and I was like, hey, get down early and have some pizza with me. So I would play like slow records, and I'd walk out from behind the booth and I'd start handing out pizza and having a chat.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Because then it's like, rather than like, this like, there's something great about the payoff of like a slow build, or the slow rush. Sorry, that's a Tame Impala reference. Yeah. Got it. I was like, slow rush, and I was like, that's definitely, oh wait, it's a Tame Impala. But something great about that payoff of like, if you've waited 4 hours for that moment, and that the journey there wasn't completely like terrible, that there's a slow build musically to that point, because the Instagram thing is like, everyone takes a video of the moment, so you'll see the moment that the lights go on and someone plays Eurythmics Sweet Dreams or something and the room goes crazy. But if you played Eurythmics Sweet Dreams in amongst 30 other hit records, then it's just like, it's like a wedding DJ set, right? And it's like, it loses its potency. But like, those moments are created by like the build to it. So I like playing for a long time because you get to spend an evening with
it ebbs
crowd.
And flows.
Yeah, and you get to spend an evening and you get to play some records that you wouldn't otherwise play. And so
is it easy to get a club to just give you the night?
They're thrilled about it because they don't
need to hire more than one guy.
Yeah, they get more bang for their buck. So
and usually a DJ set, like a residency in Vegas, a DJ will do maybe the Chainsmokers are doing 2 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's like, depends on if they have time that they have to make up from last week's residency.
Yeah, so the Vegas thing, Vegas is like it's a money sort of focus operation.
I know DJs that go in and do a set for 45 fucking minutes, and then they'll go and hit 3 other clubs in a single night on a private jet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different thing, and it serves a different purpose. Like, not every night of your life can be like a 6-hour journey and such. And and there's a style of music that that works for that, and it's exciting, and it's like, it's rushy, and it's like, there is something amazing about those big EDM, but if you had 6 hours of like,
they'd all kill themselves.
Like,
you can't do that.
It's too intense. So then like the short set kind of maybe does work for that. And then also on like like you say, people flying around and doing 4 gigs and
I mean literally, like I Loud Luxury will do 3 gigs in a night. And it's 45. I
mean, even the traveling around, it takes like stamina. That's
it's hard.
It's impressive. But
would you do a Vegas residency?
It would have to be right. It would have to be like its own kind of thing. I think it
have you thought about it?
I've thought about it. I think until I see a space where I feel like I could create that thing that we're discussing, where it's like, okay,
6 hours with me.
What? Yeah, just me. Not even necessarily that, just where we could create something where it feels like a shared kind of conversation in music.
It's a curated evening.
Which is maybe an idealistic view to have about like a Vegas residency.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I've ridden with a bunch of DJs of all different types. It would
have to feel fun, and it would have to feel musically the intention would have to be good, rather than just like, woo, money.
Have you been to a Vegas club? I don't think any intention at a fucking Vegas club is good or pure.
Yeah, well, that's my experience. So it's it's a spectacle, and it's a very I'm I'm obviously British, and I now live here. I live in America. I love living in America. It's a very American thing, or it's something that's kind of been created in Vegas.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It's a spectacle to observe. It's like an incredible thing to see, really.
Yeah.
But
It's terrifying.
yeah, it's also
It's absolutely terrifying.
yeah, I'm quite an anxious person, and like I definitely do find those environments quite like, oh god, there's like a fight or flight that kicks in that situation
Every time. And,
Yeah.
And I
But I was like, am I boring?
no. I think it's to your point of like, I do wonder, like, there is a place for you in Vegas. The question is where and what's the right venue and what's the right experience. But also, like, dude, those things are hectic and crazy no matter the vantage point, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're riding with the DJ for the weekend, which I've done so many times,
Yeah.
or you're on the other side of the booth watching the crowd,
Yeah.
it is equal.
Yes.
You know? One is less crowded than the other, but
Yes.
they're both equally hectic, both equally hell, both equally like it's like a flash. It's like a
Yes.
flash and grab.
Yes.
You know?
So
There's no ebbs and flows.
There's also, here's the thing, is like, I question whether there's a place that wants me to DJ
Yeah.
in Vegas, in terms of like, I have DJed
Well, I mean,
there,
like-
and there's been some fun times playing there, like especially the festivals and stuff. But you know, if I was going to one of those super clubs and being like, ooh, here's some kind of soulful house music, they might be a bit like, eh?
No, they really do want the hits.
Yeah, and they want the fireworks and the kind of,
If there's no smoke or
Yeah.
fucking ice and fireworks
and pyro.
yeah, you're fucked.
So it's, you know, I'd have to be
But there's the right venue.
yeah, maybe one day, maybe there's a sort of maybe there's a space where that exists, but until it does, I'm kind of, you know, it would have to be a marriage of certain things in order to be something that, you know, even based on this conversation, that you or I are going to be excited about going
Yeah,
to,
totally.
you
But
know?
it's giving like big lounge club energy.
Yeah,
You know, not
right, like
no excess, no zook.
right, it's more like a, you know, I think of like a sort of Ibiza sunset, like day club type situation.
You can fuck up a day club.
Hey, I would love to. Any day clubs listening? No, okay. Yeah, I kind of, the two things I really want to do is more sunset sets and more sunrise sets.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, because I went to Tulum in Mexico last January with some friends, and I saw two DJs, Dixon and Arm, play back to back for, I think it was 4 hours as the sun rose, and that was like,
See, that's like a life-changing
that
moment.
was seminal.
No offense to the chain smokers, nobody's going to excess and having their life changed.
Have you done Burning Man yet?
I haven't.
Okay.
I've done like I've seen lots of the Burning Man kind of you know,
Art
culture.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I went to Lightning in a Bottle, and I feel like there's a lot of like similarities there. I'm also so curious and also completely frightened by it. It looks so intense. I mean, like,
Oh yeah, because you can't get out. That scares the
you can't-
shit.
Yeah, you can't get out.
All my friends who go, they're like, once you go, you really can't leave. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll never go.
Yeah, I'd like to see it definitely at some point, but
They fly over in a helicopter.
yeah, it's but I think, you know, on the Chainsmokers thing, I think like
I love them, by the way.
yeah.
Alex and Drew, like I you know, I love you. I would die for you.
Oh my god, yeah, I think it's
But they're not dumb, like, you know.
well, I think that a life-changing experience is different for different people. I mean, I think there could be people that leave those sets and are like, wow, because of the sheer grand experience of it. Like
Totally.
the show that they put on, it's
incredible.
Yeah, unbelievable. So then I think it's like, I feel like the long format thing is like, it definitely is a more specific thing. It takes a little bit more like of a commitment from the audience as well.
It's just hard to go on a journey that's only 45 minutes.
Right, but exactly.
And when it's only hits for
Yeah.
45 and you have so many hits in your repertoire that you
Yeah.
can fill, you probably really could do 2 hours on just hits.
Yeah. That's the funny thing is like, when you get to a point like that where you have that many hits, it's like there's not even time to play other hits.
Yeah, you run out of
Good.
time to play your own shit.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it also takes. It's funny we talk about like sets like a sunrise thing like that. it takes a certain level, and the Burning Man thing, it's funny, even like immediately thinking about it, is that the fact that people are stuck there is probably what makes, it's like a captive audience, right? Yeah. It's just like, well...
Are they even here for me?
Yeah, it's like, well, you're coming on this journey, you don't really have a choice in this. So like, you know, it's like, I find that when I'm in LA or London, that I find it difficult to go and have like a life-changing musical experience because I know that I can Uber home and go to bed. So it's like there's a separation from reality that occurs in those situations that I think aids the experience too.
What actually fulfills you though the most? Like what fulfills you to the fullest? Is it crafting your own records from nothing into something, or is it being able to give somebody a journey that they wouldn't get anywhere else with records that may not even be your own?
There's a feeling that I get. There's like a magic little moment that happens in the studio, and it's like this rush when you've made something and you're like, oh, this is good, and then you're on your feet and you're hearing it for the first time, and it's something that like cannot be replicated. And it's that thing, like I love getting to perform live, and I love getting to share records and go on these journeys, but if I never had to perform again, I would be okay. But if I could never have that feeling again of creating music, I would not be okay.
So you really need to craft something from nothing.
That's the best thing about this whole job, is like that little thing where you get, and even when you get to share it with other people, even, you know, if you're in the studio like with like Tove, for instance, and you get to look at each other and like, especially if you're friends, and be like, this is great, and like, and get excited about it, and then you get in the car afterwards and you play it 50 times and you're just like going crazy in the car by yourself. Like, I'm sure there's people who've seen me in traffic before and have been like, that is a unwell person.
But really, you're the most well.
That's the best I could be at any given moment. So yeah, that's really the thing that...
Even if it meant you were crafting music for not you, but for somebody else?
Yes, even that, because like, there's still, you know, you still get the rush and the enjoyment of creating something, and arguably as much. So there's definitely, you know, I think that as long as I have something to say and share musically that I feel is specific to me, I will continue to create music as S.G. Lewis sort of thing. But I will always need to create music, whether it's for me or for someone else. And I think that through the next 10 years, I will ebb and flow. You know, I think there will be times where I really feel like focusing on just, because, you know, I was fortunate enough to meet Max Martin and to see the environment that they, the MXN guys work in.
It's not casual, but it is also casual.
It's incredible, though.
It's
you
crazy.
know, it's like, you know, you're looking at that and there's nothing missing in those guys, in that team's like life musically. You know, I think they're pretty fulfilled musically every day in terms of creating music for other people and writing, and it's a pretty amazing life that they seem to live. So
and they have the most beautiful families, and they have like they're so happy and fulfilled outside of that place on Doheny.
Oh yeah,
it's like
they've got it figured out. Yeah, that's a pretty cool situation.
It's really, it actually gives me goosebumps because also like they also happen to be the best dads, and like
they're pretty awesome. I was lucky enough to go to like a music quiz night with Tove, because Tove's big friend to them, and sort of doing this. It's like a finger on the buzzer.
How the fuck does that? A music quiz night with Max Martin and crew?
He's very good.
I would assume. I would hope.
And the thing is, he's also, you know, songs come up that he's
done.
So it's like,
by the way, most in the pop genre.
Yeah, so it'll be like, you know, guess the song, and then split second in, he's like, oh, I know that one. So
just set this tone for me. It's you. It's Tove, it's Max. Is it Ilya? Who else is there? Savan?
Yeah, there was a bunch of people I met. There was, I mean, there were other sort of artists that were working.
Yeah, I want to know what this music quiz night looks like.
I don't know if I can say, because I don't know.
Probably not.
Well, I don't want to
happy.
I don't want to reveal any I'll tell you afterwards.
That's fine. What are you thinking over there, Daniel?
Is Call on Made, is that on both your album and Tove's album?
Yes.
Why is that? You guys couldn't decide who gets it?
So we wanted both Call on Me and Pineapple Slice to be collaborations, but the first Call on Me we did first, and I had the concept. So when I was collaborating, the collaborations kind of came later in the process. As soon as the artist came in the studio, I would explain the concept to them. We would kind of decide before we'd even like played a chord what part of the album we were going to exist in, and kind of topically within those two worlds, like maybe what we're going to explore. So then to Call on Me, me and Tove I explained the concept, and we decided like we wanted to create something in the world of AudioLust, and then I had this instrumental that I'd started with Teed, Totally Anonymous and Dinosaurs, that worked. So that session was very kind of intentional, and then the song ended up working for both records. It just like stylistically and thematically also fit on Tove's record. So we were like, well, we want to put this on both records. Whereas Pineapple Slice was just like, by the time we got in the studio for Pineapple Slice, me and Tove were like big friends, and like it was basically like we're just hanging out, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. And she was like, oh, I got an idea, and then it just happened very quickly. But kind of thematically, Pineapple Slice feels like a kind of classic Tove Lo record.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like it's Tove through and through. And whereas in the context of the album I was creating, I guess just like lyrically and stuff, it may not have kind of fit so well.
So what's the rule on having a song appear on two albums? Is it all just funnel one? Like, does all your streams go into one record?
I have no idea.
Really interesting.
I think so. There's like a clever shared like
there has to be something.
Yeah, there's some clever tech going on over there, and I don't quite understand it, but it's on both albums.
Yeah, that's cool. I've never seen that before. 2 artists are just like, yeah, let's both have it.
Yeah.
So you have it or I get it.
Yeah, I was also pleasantly surprised. So that was cool. But yeah, it's kind of on both, and then I think if you play it off my page, then it shows my artwork. If you play it off her, I actually don't know how it works, but very clever.
By the way, the album's called AudioLust HigherLove. We're going to put a link in the description below so you can listen to any of the songs that are out right now. Also, it's all going to be available for you on Amazon Music. What else are you thinking?
Lifetime, is that the best song you've ever made?
Yeah. I really, really, really like that song a lot.
Why?
I'm really, really proud of it. It's so we're talking about honesty and stuff. It just feels very like heart on sleeve honest. It's like it's very pure in intention, and it reminds me of so much music that I love from those eras we discussed, and also just like music I grew up on and stuff. It has like a slightly like more classic feeling. I don't mean in terms of like it's a classic song. I mean like just like it feels like it could be from any time in the last sort of like 30 years maybe, which is cool. And I just really love the story behind it. We were at one of these residential studios, and I was writing with Ed Druitt, and then my friends Ruben James and Jay Moon. We were in this like we were just cut off from the rest of the world, and we're having dinner, and we'd been drinking like. And Ed told the story of how he met his now wife, and he basically they were 12 years old, he like runs up to her in the shopping mall back in Essex. He's like, oh, can I have your number, sort of thing, and exchange numbers, and then they become friends. They never really date. They basically just like for 15 years they're friends, but it's always like they're dating other people. And then one day Ed's flying back from LA, and he's drunk on a flight, and he has Wi-Fi, and then he just gets really drunk, and he's like, he just texts her, and he's like, I've waited my whole life to tell you, but I'm completely and utterly in love with you. And then like she was like, I'm in love with you too, and then they got together, and now they have 2 children.
What a life.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And
so you wrote a song off of that?
So we were having this conversation at dinner, and I was like, stop. I was like, let's go now. and then Ruben started playing the first chords that you hear on the record, and then I wrote the hook, and then we started layering it up, this kind of choir. And then I remember just sitting outside, and it was like a really starry night, and I was just letting it loop, and I was a bit drunk, and I was just like, wow, this is really pretty. And then we wrote the rest of the song, and I just really love it. I'm really proud of it. So
you think you really do, with every fiber of your being, think it's the greatest song you've ever made?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
But what I mean,
I don't know why.
And that's off a personal feeling as opposed to data or anything like that.
Just feeling, just like, and that's just how I feel, and that can change, and only time will tell. But I've had that song for over a year, and I just like know how it makes me feel. And I find it very difficult to listen to my own music and to be able to be like, oh, cool, that's really good, because of just the little voices in your head and like, that could be better and this could be better. And I'm sure that will set in eventually with Lifetime, but it's song.
Not there yet.
It's a song I would play in the car and I'd just be like, cool.
Yeah, it's a feel-good song.
I was just like, oh, wow. Like, I would put it on and I would be like, I'm really, really happy I made this song.
But that's like, I do believe that's the proper criteria, right? Like, if you can listen to it and not nitpick yourself.
Yes.
And have the ability to be like, oh, I think that's actually good.
And what's funny is I now understand after doing this for a while that feeling may have no correlation between how it does commercially.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And like, your most successful song, or the song that streams the best, or has the moment, like, maybe the song you might not have even given like a quarter of as much thought to, or like, you know, it's the two things have no correlation, and really how successful a song ends up being is sometimes just in the hands of the gods as such.
But eventually they will cross. I promise you. Like, it is no connection whatsoever. But we'll do the same thing where we'll watch back, or I'll watch back an interview, which I never watch back anything. And the ones I hate are the ones that I can give 1,000 notes on, and the ones that are actually great are the ones I go, oh, that was actually the right follow-up thing to ask. Or, like, or I'll like re-interview somebody simultaneous to myself interviewing them.
Yes.
And be like, is that like where did I line up on this? And then honestly, the ones that are the best are the ones that are usually they underperform, and the ones that people don't give enough fucking credit to, and the ones that I think are shit are the ones that tens of millions of people watch and they live on forever. But eventually they fucking have crossed. Not a ton, but they've gotten there. But I think I also shoot like 4 times a week. The rate at which somebody releases music and makes music is not 4 times a week.
No, that's
52 weeks a year. You know what I mean? It's different.
I mean, the turnover of that is crazy. Like, you almost hardly even have a time to like reflect on what you've done. You know, you just like keep going forward, and you get better maybe, you know, over time with just like your intuition. But like, yeah, it's just so crazy to me that like you can feel a way about something, and it just might not be a shared feeling, or it might eventually, music is so weird, 10 years later someone might put it in a film and all of a sudden it's the biggest thing in the world or something. But so then the only thing you can have is like that feeling of like self-fulfillment. It's like, oh, I really love this song, and I'm really happy that other people are getting to hear this song.
And that's all that matters.
And that's all that matters.
You gotta listen to AudioLust and Higher Love. The full thing's gonna be on Amazon Music. Final thoughts over there?
Yeah, I know Dua Lipa's working on a new album. Have you gotten back to the studio with her?
I haven't. I mean,
are you selective on sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, really selective. Just through the touring I do now as an artist, it means that the time in the studio is pretty limited when I do get to be in. I would obviously love to do more with Dua, and she's unbelievable. She's there's so much going on in her world now that, if our paths cross at some point and we manage to do some more music, it'd be really awesome. But I'm excited to see what they're cooking over there, definitely.
Will you sell a song, or do you just want to do sessions?
I don't think I've ever sold a song in terms of like just giving it.
Do you songs sit on a hard drive with your publisher somewhere that they have the right to pitch?
Honestly, no. Like, I mean, obviously, like if someone heard something and was like, oh my God, I need to use this. But in my experience, it just doesn't really happen like that now, because even the pop stars, in the traditional sense, you think about like the old school, like Britney Spears style, like, okay, write a song, give it to a publisher, get it. It
doesn't work that way.
Doesn't happen so much, because my theory on it is that like fans know their idols so much better now because of social media. So you take like Ariana Grande, they know like the name of her dog, who she's dating, her favorite food. So like this music has to be very specific in order for them to feel like it's coming from the artist. So it becomes harder to write for a pop star, or just to write a song generically that could work for 10 pop stars.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But to your point, that's like strategic sharing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And like you can share, I think, by the way, I don't just say this because she's my best friend, but she's probably the best at strategic sharing than any other artist to ever exist, where it's the right amount of everything about her, but the music also fills in the gaps that you may not get.
Yeah.
And they all it is a beautiful there's
and
there's a real art to that.
And that's why it's so funny when like just angry people on the internet like belittle pop stars, because they're functioning on an extremely high level of intention and of intelligence.
Please. And there's other fucking artists out there that belittle pop stars, not understanding that like the root of what it means to be a pop star is like really an artist, right? And that is a lot.
It's so funny when you hear people go like, oh, I could have a hit, I just don't want to, or like, oh, it'd be so easy just to like do the. It's like.
Or I don't want to be known as a pop star. I want to be known as an artist.
Right. And
you're
it's
a
like,
fucking moron.
It's like, I saw The Weeknd last night. I went to his concert. That is an artist functioning on a global, worldwide scale. And
he's a pop star. And
like the theater of it, the intention, the character he's built.
The nuance.
He's a pop star, but it's like the difficulty to create what he's created. It's like, it's such a dumb opinion to have, to just be like, oh yeah, that's the easy thing to do, to like sell out. It's like, that's the hardest thing to do, to take that thing and do it on a global scale like that. Like that is way harder than making a cool vibey ambient tape.
But to think that a pop star isn't an artist is so fucking stupid and dumb. And they're an artist in a way that you could never even fully wrap your mind around, because to your point, to get to a place where you're selling out SoFi Stadium numerous times in a row, that's nuance and detail and genius and strategy that you can't. It's so above your caliber. Yep. And like I think of one artist, one human in particular, that as I say this, like, people have really tweeted some dumb fucking things. Yeah. Hurting pop, like. Coming after pop stars, saying I don't want to be a pop star, I want to be an artist. Pop stars aren't art. It's so fucking bullshit.
It's so dumb. The two things are like completely the same thing, especially now. Because, it's such a kind of bitter way to look at things. It's like 5-10 years ago, that kind of trend of like, it's cool to like hate Justin Bieber or to hate Taylor Swift, and it's like there's kind of now this full circle, like people giving those artists their flowers in like an artistic sense and being like, wait, oh my god, this new Taylor Swift album is artistically incredible. And it's like, yeah, you fucking surprised? Like, these are the best artists like on the planet, like doing it on the biggest scale.
They
and it's
put in
like,
100,000 hours into this shit.
Like, they are better than you and I, and so to try and belittle it and be like, oh, it's like
you just look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's dumb. Really annoys me.
It is. And by the way, like the craziest thing is like when people speak really loud on that type of shit, and it will hit superstars' ears. Like like people see everything. Okay, Taylor Swift fucking looks at everything. Yeah, breaking fucking news.
Yeah. That's like
they're also the most informed. They're the most knowledgeable. They're aware of everything. Yeah, they're incredibly smart, but also so personal and empathetic, and like can rip their souls out from their fucking mouths.
Yeah, like we talk about like me and this album being like, oh yeah, it's an uncomfortable thing to share things. I'm not sharing anything compared to Taylor Swift, where the media know like everything about her relationships, her dating history, and then she puts her soul on display in these albums and allows people to unpack her life like that. That's difficult. Yeah. So yeah, it's a funny. I'm glad that it seems to be like changing slightly, and people seem to be like giving pop stars their flowers in that sense. It's less of a kind of seen as like a throwaway thing now.
Yeah, a joke to be a fan of.
Yeah, it's like
fuck that.
Fuck that.
Well, you need to listen right now to AudioLust HigherLove.
And Taylor Swift.
Yeah, do it. It's good for your soul.
Hey, congrats on that RM repost.
Oh,
that's big.
Crazy. Yeah. Really cool. It's funny because all those guys have like their social media set up where you can't slide in the DMs.
No.
So like there was no way really to make contact, but RM, if you're out there anywhere.
I don't want to brag, but RM tunes into our show.
RM, let's make some music. Let's do it.
How do you get word that he shared? It was Vibe Like This that he shared, right?
Yeah. You hear about it from the army before you hear about it from, not the actual army, the BTS army.
Amen.
Yeah, there's a military man at my door. Like, yo, dude, RM just showed it. Anyway, yeah, all of a sudden my Twitter's blowing up and I'm like, what? Like, what? And then you kind of like, you very quickly realize what's going on. But yeah, that was really cool.
Awesome.
It's really cool. I'd love to make some music with them. But yeah, it's like kind of, there's no DM slide or anything you can do. So
I mean, this is it. Look right into camera. This is not a joke. He's on the show
Here's
on Friday.
me shooting. Is he?
Yeah.
I'm shooting my shot right now. RM, call me. There we go.
No, I'll make sure he sees it.
Awesome. Hey,
You got you.
I appreciate you.
Hello. Listen to the album, please. AudioLust HigherLove.
Please, yes.
Link in the description below. Final thoughts?
Think we covered it all?
We've covered it all with you, SG Lewis.
That was awesome.
Thank you for being here and sitting on our couch.
Always enjoy talking to you guys.
It's a pleasure, and only talked a little bit of shit today, so I appreciate you.
I enjoy the shit talking. Yeah.
It's nice, right?
We should talk shit more often.
Yeah, maybe in private.
It's funny, I didn't hear you swear until like over halfway through. I swear a lot in conversation. I was like, oh, thank fucking God. I was like,
Safe space.
there we are.
We're
Okay.
allowed to curse on the couch.
Hey, well, next time, more cursing, more shit talking.
Yeah, come. We're moving soon. We have a new studio.
New digs.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I don't know what it looks like yet, so I got to design it and decorate it and shit. But yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be nice.
Okay, I'll send a framed photo of just my face.
I would love that. Well, you would hang that up.
No,
Yeah, we have a
I'll
collection
send,
building.
sorry, not a framed photo of my face. I'll send something.
You
Cool.
better. I'm gonna hold you to it.
I'll send you a gift.
Thank you.
Promise you.
You have a girlfriend now, Mazel Tov.
I do, yeah. Oh.
She's like all over your Instagram, so
Yeah.
I don't feel inappropriate.
No,
asking
not
about
at all.
it.
No. I'm very, very happily in love with an amazing woman. She's wonderful.
How'd you know you were in love?
Because drove around playing Lifetime and smiling and thinking about
Her?
I'm kidding.
Not wrong.
You just
I asked for myself.
it's the first thing you think of when you wake up and the last thing you think of when you go to bed, and it used to be just music. So that's how you know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
God, I felt that. SG Lewis, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks so much, dude. Thank you for having me. Thanks, guys.